today.
It's a red, white, support the blue flashback weekend. Flashing back to our favorite interviews with those that have put their lives on the line for their fellow citizens.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
This is the examination of the hidden human condition.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers Podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Robin Drake is joining us. We're going to do a little breakdown since we haven't had a chance to talk yet about the outcome of the Daybell case and get his insight. Robin, of course, retired FBI special agent, chief of the counterintelligence behavioral analysis program. And we're doing a little bit of a behavioral analysis on Lori Daybell today. Robin's website, peopleformula.com. Robin, I want to hear your thoughts. We haven't had a chance to discuss since the defense rested and then we got the verdict. Surprised by any of this?
Definitely not surprised by the verdict. And when they read when the defense rested without doing a thing, it was a moment of saying to myself, wow, Daybell was in charge, because it sounded like she said it. I mean, so her defense team followed her delusion, and hands off to them for doing the right thing. I know it's, as defense lawyers, that's not what you do. You're following the law. You're doing what you can to defend your client. But they took her lead, and her lead was delusional. And I still just boggles the mind, doesn't it, to think that she's so disconnected from reality, and even to the fact that she thought that the prosecution did not prove her guilt, or that they were off in any way, that she could just say, I'm done. That's delusional. That is 100% delusional. So
is that going to work into her factor? Because she needs to be a participant in her own defense. And clearly she was a participant in her own defense. But does it make it right if you're a participant in your own defense, if you're delusional while being a participant in your own defense? And I know there's not that, you can't say insanity in Idaho, but I mean, clearly, the decisions that were being made there were not in her best interest.
No, I'm still, I think I'm a broken record on a few things when it comes to her. One is, I don't think she's bright at all. And I don't think her latest husband is bright either, because they did such a horrible job of everything. I mean, just look at the destruction she's caused in her life. And I still think, having done some cult research and how cults form, and basically all the cults that form you read about are the successful ones. So it's easy to see in this case why it wasn't successful. And it just goes to show how bad they were at even making a cult.
Yeah.
So, because she's got no skills. I mean, what did she, besides being on Wheel of Fortune and a beauty queen when she's younger, I honestly have no idea what her job ever was. I don't think she has a job. Her job was to kill people and take their insurance money, because she had no skill set. So cults in general, when they are forming and when they're moving, they're actually pretty highly functioning when it comes to creating income. They force their members into cheap labor. They're selling some product or service. They're doing something for revenue generation. These two had nothing. You had a really bad writer in Chad who was not charismatic enough, because that's the other thing too, is cults generally have one leader who's the charismatic one, and Chad, without her, was not charismatic enough to do his own crazy. And so she comes in, she's the charismatic one, but off of his teachings, which is, it's a little off. And then when they have no skill set to make money except by bumping people off and taking their insurance money, and then the Social Security from the kids' deaths. I mean, that is someone who went from 0 to 100 on a cult. They didn't isolate their members so that their members or pseudo members or followers or friends or whatever you want to call them weren't buying totally into what they were saying, especially when people started getting bumped off. So they just did a horrible job. And so I think as you're seeing her cognitive thought process, and then also one of the final days of testimony in the prosecution, when they showed the video of them serving them papers in Hawaii, when they serve her the paper, and you can see on the video, she's got this like blank expression. And someone I was on a show with the other day, it looks like she's literally saying, as she's being served papers to produce her children under law that had been missing as they're on their honeymoon in Hawaii, the look on her face was like, hey, you're in my son. I mean,
I know. And Chad's just like, what's this all about? I'm sure.
And you could actually see his jaws were clenching and you could see the tension in his jaws. Like he was kind of cognating what was going on, but she was literally like, hey, you're in my son. Papers? What papers? I mean, she just had this blank expression on her face because I don't think she's got any marbles rolling around up there. I really don't.
No, I mean, it was like there was no recognition of what the gravity of the papers were that were being handed to her whatsoever. And Chad's was interesting. I still struggle with trying to grasp, does Chad know what's going on the whole time and he was just trying to hold on for dear life to the blonde woman in the bikini next to him, no matter what, come hell or high water? Or is he also drinking his own Kool-Aid, believing that, yes, we got rid of zombies and we're going to still get away with this?
I think it's got to be a blend. I think he's rationalizing the behavior, but I'm with you though. He's riding the crazy train that she started, but the loyalty she still has to him and getting angry with her defense team when they're insinuating it was all because of him, it kind of made her angry. And it's like, because she's still believing that garbage he was pumping. I'm just glad that that part of it is done. And now the next part's going to be when he's up. It's going to be really, really interesting because I had read that the children are going to try to, and everyone, I think that his defense team is going to try to throw her under the bus as being the real cause of it. He, like you said, he was just on the crazy train by mistake.
One of the things I had heard, and maybe you have as well, I don't have it substantiated or confirmed, but from many people that were kind of on the ground in that area, is that Lori was not cooperating with her defense very well. Participating, yes, but in terms of cooperating and agreeing with much of what they wanted to do, not so much, which is why we didn't see a ton of throwing Chad under the bus or Alex. We did see it a bit, but it was also noted that every time her defense would do that, she really cringed up. Like she apparently really did not want them to be throwing them under the bus. And I think she had no idea what was going to happen in closing because they seemed to go a little bit further. I think almost just taking the cards into their own hand and going, we're going to say what we think we need to say here. Because it seemed to be at the closing, they were more harsh on Chad and the whole belief system and her mental health at the very end, kind of spelling out what they thought that was going on. But I don't know how much Lori was behind, closing that way.
Yeah, I heard the same thing, and you could kind of see in the behaviors as well, is that she was just making their lives so difficult that almost, just the way they closed it seemed like they threw in the towel and said, all right, you be you, and you want us to say this, we're going to say this, and we'll you see after a couple of lifetimes in jail.
Yeah. It makes you wonder exactly, what, if ever she's going to have any sort of realization. I think at the end of the day, the families just want her to realize what she did and feel that. So. And just feel that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think she ever will.
I don't think either. It's just, and that kind of goes, you and I've been chatting about this a good while, kind of hypothesizing still if she's ever going to have one of those moments. Mm-hmm. And if she didn't have it when she was standing there being convicted on all counts, and she's still, you're watching the expression, still not getting it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't think she's ever going to get it. I think she's, I don't know, and who knows, but yeah, it's still the most unusual thing. And who was it? I was watching one of the other shows the other day, and everyone's just dumbfounded by this. It's the most unusual case that anyone's seen in such a long time because she was just so out of it when it comes to facing reality.
We got more with Robin. Yeah, press subscribe so you don't miss any of it. We're going to continue talking about the case throughout the week and a couple others as we continue to dive into the world of, horrible people, as I like to say, and seek justice for those affected by them. If you'd like to weigh in on any of the cases that we follow for you right here. We'd love to hear your voice. 888-554-5537. 888-5-KILLER is our phone number. I'm Tony Brueski. Stay with us.